Okay, hello. Sorry this took me so long. Technology's not being my friend. Anyways, we have a guest today. This is Lasso. You have not seen him as much as my other cat, but that is him. He does exist. He's the more chill, okay cat. Anyways, I wanted to dive into today's video right off the bat. I put out a poll to my audience, to friends and family, asking what they would like to hear about next from me in my vlog series. And the one that won overall was a video about my weight loss journey. And so I wanted to talk about that today with all of you. I'm gonna do it kind of in sections. I'm gonna start kind of with my history, the beginning process, the overall process, and then what's going on now. So kind of in those sections as we go throughout. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for following along, and we're gonna dive right into it. So I would like to begin with the history of my weight loss journey, and my history being my own personal history with my weight, my battles, my wins, my struggles, all of those things. And the story that I will tell first is one that I was younger, when I was about 5 years old. My mom said we were going camping. We had been going camping ever since I was little, but this time was a little different. She said that I didn't want to go. And this surprised me. I was like, what do you mean I didn't want to go? I love camping. And she said that I had made the comment of, well, what if there's not going to be enough food? And my mom telling me that story, and based off where I went from that, I was like, maybe that was the indicator of what was to come, or what was to be. I'm not quite sure. I don't think it was, but who can tell? Moving forward, about a year after that, as a kid, I just started gaining weight. I was eating about the same as before, but I just kept gaining weight. I just kept putting on weight. And I was an active kid. I did sports, I did swimming, I did all those things, but I just kept gaining the weight. Finally, when I got to be about 10 or 11 years old, I went with my mom to the doctor, the pediatrician, and she said, I want her to get tested for hypothyroidism. And if you are unaware of what hypothyroidism is, it is something to do with your thyroid gland. I know, big shocker. But anyways, he was like, sure, we'll get her tested. My grandma has it, and it is hereditary, and bing, bop, boom, blood test came back. She has hypothyroidism. How wonderful. Okay, so that answered some questions of being like, why am I gaining weight when I'm eating normally and I'm not overeating? Why do I feel so tired all the time? Why is my hair coming out more than it normally should? All of these things. And finally had the answer of it being hypothyroidism. Okay, great. So how do we move on from there? I was prescribed levothyroxine. I will have to take it till the day I die. My grandma, same case scenario, till the day that she died, she also had to take this medication. So great things with that. Okay, that helps with my energy, so I don't feel like sleeping for 13 hours out of the day. That's great. In regards to weight loss though, nothing changed. I was still gaining weight even though I was doing gymnastics, soccer, dancing, musicals, all of these things, would not lose the weight. The way I would describe it to people is if you and me went and had lunch together, we got the same exact meal. Really healthy salad, maybe some grilled chicken, lemon water, delicious. We would have it and then we'd go on a walk. Your body, your metabolism that is working well, that is working fine, would help you be able to lose the weight, work through all those things. My body simply would not. Yay! So with that in mind, I was just like, okay, I'll start dieting. I'll start maybe being more proactive about working out. Nothing was working. Nothing was working, unfortunately, and so that led to a lot of mental blocks, and obviously growing up in the 2000s, seeing shows such as The Biggest Loser or celebrities coming out with their new, you can look like me if you buy this video and do these workouts and all these other things. And so growing up seeing those things, seeing how people who looked like me were being treated as somebody who was, quote unquote, a loser, that took a big mental toll, if you could tell, obviously. Looking at other people and then looking at yourself and being like, oh, I don't look like you. And because I don't look like you, I'm different. And so that is somehow bad. Big shocker, I know. So working through those emotions while also trying to keep a healthy relationship with food, while also trying to have a healthy relationship with my body was very tough. So with that history in mind, I will now go into the beginning process of finally getting something else done to help with said weight loss. So, flash forward now to the summer of 2023. I don't have a pediatrician anymore. I now have my own doctor, primary care doctor, but now I also have somebody called an endocrinologist, somebody who specializes in people who are struggling with diabetes or thyroid issues, thyroid diseases, such as myself. I finally started seeing her. She was great. She was amazing. I loved her so much because she actually explained more in depth about my hypothyroidism and how to deal with it. And so as I started going to doctor appointments with her and explaining this whole process and my history of with my weight and everything, she started explaining to me, well, why don't we try prescribing you this weight loss medication? And I did the little, huh? Because by this time, I had already started seeing those medications advertised, right? And I'm sure you know the ones that I'm talking about, Ozempic, maybe you've heard of Mounjaro, Wegovy, or Zepbound. There's another one, I believe, I'm not quite sure off the top of my head, but those are like the ones that are heavily advertised. And they were heavily advertised for people who suffered with diabetes to lower their A1C. I did not have that issue quite yet, and so when she had told me that I could take that, I was very like, are you sure? And here there were celebrities that were just taking it just to lose a few pounds, where there were other people who were actually suffering from a bodily disease and needed it to, not risk, endangering their life. So I was very much like, really? I can take it? And she was like, yeah, I'll prescribe it. And I was like, great. And now by this time I was probably around my highest weight, which was around 320 pounds. So, and I was getting a little worried, I had told her, because as I had kept getting older and older, the weight just seemed to be getting more put on and not coming off. The only time I ever truly lost weight was when I was really sick one time and I was in the hospital and I wasn't eating. And I lost weight because of that. Cannot do that, obviously. And I will bring back this point later about not eating and losing weight. I will bring up this point later on in the video. So anyways, she prescribed said medication. Insurance went no. Are we surprised? Not really. Insurance claimed that it was more seen as cosmetic. Ooh, insurance. And so with that being said, I went with the route of seeing a nutritionist and trying to see and help out with my diet more, and that was working well. Fast forward a year later, around May 2024, I'm still seeing this doctor. I had gotten a letter, and my parents shared it with me because it was actually a letter to them. They worked for the state of Illinois, and Governor J.B. Pritzker, you the man, because he sent out this letter saying that anyone who had insurance under the state of Illinois could now get weight loss medication. It was covered. Praise! Praise! And so I grabbed that letter, I went to the doctor and I said, hey, remember our conversation last year? Could you please prescribe this to me again? And she did. Well, with that, there was a little bit of some other action that needed to take place. With the insurance okaying said medication, I now had to also enroll in a lifestyle management program. I said, okay, no worries. This program was called Virta Health. It was very informational, very educational, and they focused on keto dieting. And keto dieting, if you're not aware, is where there is hardly any sugar intake, no starchy carbs, so like no potatoes, no bread, no pasta, any of those things, and it's more high protein, high fatty, more vegetable diet. No sugar. no sugar at all whatsoever. And so I was like, okay, I will give this a try. They sent me a scale for free to weigh my body that connected to my phone. Crazy. They sent me a food scale. They sent me a cookbook with all of these keto recipes and all these other things. And then I was also given a coach that I could talk to and explain my situation and just share struggles and things that I was dealing with, which was super awesome. So that was the beginning process of starting the lifestyle management program along with the medication. And I will now talk about the process of how that went over the course of a year. Alrighty, so I got the medication, I got the lifestyle management program. What was next? Well, I started the medication first before I actually started adhering to the keto dieting, just because of timing and everything. So the first dose of medication I took on the 4th of July, 2024. I know, what a day. What a day to start weight loss medication. Crazy. About at the end of July, I started doing the actual keto dieting through Virta. So just between those few weeks, I had already lost some weight just due to the medication. And the medication that I ended up taking was Zepbound. My doctor had said this is the best one out of all of them, Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy. Zepbound was the best and was proven by many other patients that it had worked the best, like no side effects. There are side effects that have affected people, but luckily I did not have any, which I'm very grateful for. But the least amount of side effects, I should say. So I started taking that medication, and the first thing I noticed that what it did is I'm a person who would finish my plate. I don't know about you, but you give me a big plate of food, I would eat it all, okay? With the medication, I would eat about half the plate and be full, completely full. And this was something new. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't feel like I need to finish the plate. I feel satiated. This is great. Another great thing that the medication also had was canceling out food noise. If you're not aware of what food noise is, it is this like constant little voice in your head saying like, I need to eat something, or I don't feel satiated right now and I just need something to fulfill that craving. And so like constantly snacking, constantly thinking about food, having those thoughts in your head, it can drive you a little crazy, right? And lead you to eat more than you probably should. And I had that. With the medication, gone. Having that little voice all of a sudden disappear, I was like, oh my gosh. I'm not thinking about food all the time, and I can think about other things and accomplish other things, and this is so great, and I'm not having to worry about this. That's so awesome. So, lessened my appetite, and it got rid of food noise. I would say that those were the two biggest great things that the medication provided, okay? Well, as I started taking the medication more, the dosage started increasing, and I was still keeping to the keto diet. And another great thing that the lifestyle management program is it held me accountable because I had to take my ketones, every day. I had to check them, right? I pricked my finger and then checked my ketones through my blood. And it would tell me like, yeah, you didn't really keep to the keto diet today or such and such. And so it would hold me accountable because I could physically see like, oh, this is what my body is telling me. I need to do better tomorrow, make better decisions. And it did lead to that, because it held me accountable for my actions, whether I was eating good or eating other things that I probably didn't need to have. So that was another great thing with the lifestyle management program, is it just held me accountable along with having the medication to aid to help. Okay. So moving forward, let's see, I kept my little book here because at first I was like, you know what? I'm going to document how much I'm losing so far. So my documented weight before I started the medication on July 4th was 317.3. Okay? That was June 27th, 2024. By September 23rd, I was down to 269.6.
Whoa!
That much weight already in just that short amount of time, okay? And keep this in mind, okay? Because as I kept going on in my weight loss journey, I kept losing weight. I kept doing great things, right? Doing awesome things, adhering to the diet, making sure I was taking the medication, holding myself accountable. Things were great. I was losing the weight. I was having to buy new clothes, which you would think was great. Not so much, because then I have to spend money and go buy clothes and all these other things. But it finally got to a little bit of a uh-oh moment around November. And I will touch on that story a little bit now. So, what had happened was, at the end of November, this was the day right before I was moving out to be in the place where I am right now, where you see me. This location. So, I was very excited, very nervous, but ultimately ready to get things going, right? So, the night before I moved out, I woke up in the middle of the night and I had some kind of pain going on in my chest. And I was like, oh, maybe it's just nerves. Maybe it's not anything too crazy. It should be fine. I should be okay. Just go back to sleep. So I did. I woke up a little bit later, still had the pain, and it had increased a little bit. And at this point I was like, okay, let me just get up, take some Tylenol, go back to bed. As I proceeded to get up, it felt like somebody had taken a knife and just jabbed me right underneath the heart, right underneath my rib cage area, like keeled over in pain, like that. And I was like, oh, and now all of a sudden it's hard to breathe. I need to do something. And so I made my way upstairs to my parents' bedroom. I felt like a little kid. You know, when a little kid shows up to their parents' bedroom after they threw up at night? That's how I felt. And I knocked on the door and I was like, Mom, Dad, I do not feel well. I feel like I can't breathe. And they're like, what? They wake up, they get up, and I explained to them the situation, and I'm already stressed because I don't know what's going on, all these other things. So they're like, do we need to call an ambulance? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just telling you it really hurts to breathe and I'm in a lot of pain. And they said, we're going to call the ambulance. So they did, as good parents do. Ambulance came. EMS came in. They checked me out. They checked all my vitals and they said, you're okay. And I was like, I don't feel okay. I kind of feel like I'm dying a little bit, even though I don't know what that feels like. I just don't feel comfortable and I'm in a lot of pain. And they said, well, we can take you to the hospital. And I looked at my mom and my dad and I was like, I'm supposed to be moving out tomorrow. And I said, you know what? Let me just write it out. And originally when my mom had called 911, they said to take aspirin. And so I was like, I'll just wait for that to kick in, some baby aspirin. I'll just wait for that to kick in. So they left, and after about an hour, my body finally got back to an okay state. I still felt that pain, but it wasn't as jabbing as if someone was just taking a knife and like that. So I went to bed, woke up, moved out the next day. Crazy, I know. I am a doer. I am a mover, okay? I keep things flowing, keep things going. So, with that being said, I brought that situation, that episode, to my doctor and explained what happened. And before then, my mom had explained that she had had a similar situation happen to her, and her doctor had told her that it was her gallbladder. And maybe as I was explaining that situation, some of you who've had a gallbladder attack or episode were like, that was clearly that. And by golly gee, it surely was. My doctor explained to me that because I had been losing weight so rapidly, so quickly, that my gallbladder was working on overdrive, trying to break down all of the fat that I was losing. And so with it overworking, overproducing, it produced gallstones. And that's what it was. I had a gallstone probably get stuck somewhere, and that was the pain that was occurring, happening, what I felt. And so I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, but just to make sure, go get an ultrasound. So I did. This is January 2025 now. Went and got the ultrasound. The nurse was so sweet. She's like, I'm not supposed to tell you this because your doctor is supposed to tell you this, but you have gallstones. And I was like, great. Thank you so much for letting me know. Okay. So I was like, well, what do we go on from here? And my next doctor's appointment, I was like, how do we move on? And she's like, well, you can get your gallbladder removed or you can just deal with it. And I looked at her and I was like, you know, I could just deal with it. And so I did. I had about 5 more episodes after that, but I noticed it would be after I ate a certain meal where it was really fatty or something else like that. And so I just told myself, like, okay, I need to be more cognizant about, like, if I had a really fatty meal, like once today, I don't need to have another one. Like, my gallbladder's already working, already doing her job. I don't need to put her under more stress. So I kept that in mind as I progressed even more. And now I will get to with what you see today and how that's working out so far. You ever need someone to be a great listener for you, Lasso will surely get the job done. Anyways, I will finish out with how things are going to today and what my weight loss journey has brought me. So as of today, I weigh around 170 pounds, which I am still amazed at saying. Going from around 320 pounds to this has totally just blown my mind. I have not been taking the medication as much. I am still taking it, but now I'm taking it in smaller doses because I wanted to touch back on the point of me getting sick and not eating and losing weight. Well, as my medication progressed in dosage, I finally got to about 10 milligrams, micrograms, whatever the dosage mark is for that. And I was going whole entire days without eating. And I had that moment of like, Sarah, that's not right. You can't do that. You have to give your body nourishment and food. You can't let this medication just give you the body that you want. You need to have a healthy relationship with food. It's not sustainable. And so when that happened, I talked with my doctor and I had some other insurance issues happen. I got my own insurance. Woot, big girl moves, so scary, but I got it done. And I ended up starting the medication again, but I started on the lowest dose. And now I'm only taking it every 2 to 3 weeks. Food noise did come back, unfortunately, but now I am aware of it and know that it is just either boredom or I need to eat a meal that better sustains me or something else. But I am now more aware of that because I went through this process of my weight loss journey and now can recognize those bad habits, those bad things. So today, before I finish out, I just kind of want to talk about the mental journey of it all. When I first weighed myself and I saw that it was under 200 pounds, I took about 5 minutes just looking at myself in the mirror and going, wow, I don't think I really recognize the person that I'm looking at right now. And that's really scary because I had lived in a bigger body ever since I was 6 years old. So now being 23 years old, having gone that much amount of time of looking like this person and all of a sudden having a completely different body in the span of less than a year, it was very shocking. It was a lot to take in. And of course, I had interactions with people who hadn't seen me since before. And I had one of my best friends ask me, like, how do you feel like when people, talk about that with you? And I said, well, I can understand the first conversation with them, talking about it. I can understand that. And I met that with grace and humility. But when it got to be about the 4th or 5th time that I had seen that person and they had known what my journey was about and they still decided to bring up talking about my body, that's where I started to get a little bit like, there are other things to talk about than how I look and what my body looks like. So I will leave that where it is. But those were difficult conversations I had to have with myself and with other people and with friends. And I'm very thankful for the people who supported me. I'm not saying if you were that person or if that did happen, I'm not mad at you. It was just a personal journey of going through this, right? It's my own personal body. And so having those conversations were difficult, but I still had them because I can do tough things, I can do hard things, and I can also speak up and advocate for myself. And so with this journey, not only has it been physically transformative, but it has also been mentally transformative. And so if you are currently seeking or going through a weight loss journey right now, I just want to tell you that you are very strong. I'm not going to cry. You are very strong. And please do not let other people's opinions or statements get in your way. Trust in yourself, trust in people who are looking out for your well-being, such as like your doctors or your family or friends who are looking out for your well-good, and not only just your physical state, but your mental state as well. And if you need somebody to talk to about it, I would be more than happy, more than willing to conversate about it with you and share more or answer questions or any of those things. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any more questions that you would like to ask me, or if there's anything that I didn't really touch on that you would like more information, maybe more about the diet process that I went through, or other mental factors that maybe you want to talk about, I would be more than willing to do so. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys will join me for my next vlog. Thank you so much, and peace. Can you say goodbye? Goodbye.